What if I told you that every December, Africa and the Caribbean celebrate the very same thing for 300 plus years? That is not Christmas, but something that celebrates our defiance, our resistance, and our African heritage. Yep, we're talking about Jonkunnu. December is one of the most important times of the year where we get to celebrate our resistance, our defiance against colonial oppression. And who knew that in Ghana and in places like the Bahamas, Belize, Guatemala, Nicaragua, the Carolinas, Jamaica, they celebrate the very same thing for the very same reason, but just a different name. We are so much more interconnected than we really know.
As a Ghanaian, have you ever wondered why growing up you always see these people, Kaka Mutubi or Amos, anytime it's getting to Christmas? Now when you go to Takrady, there's a very popular festival over there that happens every Christmas to New Year. Again in Winneba, there's what we call the fancy dress. But have you ever wondered where they came from or how the whole thing started? They carry a deeper meaning that we all know. Now the whole thing started way back in the 1680s when the Brandenburg African Company came to build this particular fort called the Fort Fredericksburg. Before building the fort, they went into an agreement with the king of the area that if they build this fort over there, none of their people will be sold as slaves to the British or the Dutch. Now after building this fort, they recruited this particular man called Jonkunnu. He's known by different names by other people. When you go to the Caribbean, like Jamaica or the Bahamas, he's known as Jonkunnu. Now this man called Jonkunnu was not just the chief of the hunter people. He was known as a warrior, feared by many people. Because of some of these things, he was recruited by the Brandenburg African Company to establish a link with the indigenes like the Ashantis, the Nzima, the Hunter, and the Wassa people. Jonkunnu directed lots of trade to the Fort Fredericksburg, benefiting the Brandenburgers and becoming a problem for the British and the Dutch people. This man had an army of over 20,000 people, and that made him unstoppable by anyone. On 25th December in 1712, he made a move that no one could even dare to do. He attacked Fort Metalcross, which was a slave trading base for the Royal African Company, and destroyed their gunpowder room. This was a move to make sure that his people in surrounding areas would be free from any British attack. Now after all he did for the Brandenburgers, they betrayed him by selling the Fort Fredericksburg to the Dutch people without telling him, and this is what made him mad. He staged a coup, and before the Dutch people knew, he had reclaimed the fort back. For 7 years he defended the fort with his people, and nobody could ever take it from him. At some point, the Dutch even tried to attack that area. They only came back with 35 people. The story of this man echoed through the Caribbean, especially Jamaica and Bahamas. What he did for his people was celebrated as a festival. It became a thing not only in Ghana, but in the Caribbean. That is where this whole masquerade thing started. Over there, they call it Jonkunnu, but then in Ghana here at Winneba, they call it the fancy dress. In part 2 of the video, I'll tell you how the name Kaka Mutubi even came about.
I just find it so cool how so many West African cultural traditions still exist in the Caribbean and the Americas. If you're Igbo, this might look very familiar. The masquerade performances of the New Yam Festival, with their masked dancers and energetic displays, share striking similarities with Jonkunnu. The link between West African and Caribbean masquerade traditions is undeniable.
So when you're having your sorrel, your black cake, your coquito, your ponche crema, all of them kind of thing there, remember always to pour a little liquor or have a toast to Jonkunnu.